This is Sperdunky and Friends, Indie Game Devs live show, where we explore indie games with the developers. I'm Sperdunky, a level designer and indie game developer. Stay tuned if you're interested in indie games, how they're made, the people that make them, and how you can get started making your own games. This is Sperdunky and Friends. I'm Sperdunky. These are my friends. Go ahead, Isaac.
Hey, I'm Isaac, aka Cyberwave. I'm the game developer of Cyber Citi, and I'm a self-taught artist, 3D modeler, and an animator and game designer.
Hey guys, my name is Matt. I'm the creator and founder of Sparrow Studio, the creator of Alta's Odyssey. I am a bit of self-taught, but also schooled at the University of Connecticut in game design.
And today's co-host is our friend Cybernetic Druid. Go ahead.
Hey, I'm Cybernetic Druid, or you can call me Mike. I've been doing software engineering for about 10 years, mostly web dev and crypto, but I've been tinkering with game dev and game design for a few years. You can find me on northforcegames.com.
Awesome. And we're going to go ahead and jump into Cyberwave's game, or Isaac, Cyber Citi. So just go ahead and introduce your project and what it's all about.
Yeah, for sure. So Cyber Citi is a third-person action game, and it's a passion project of mine. I'm the creator, and I pretty much do everything. And basically, we play as a cyber assassin who's basically he's under the orders of a military organization, and he's basically out to take out various targets and doing various tasks. And all this is taking place within a cybernetic city, futuristic, whatnot. And basically the gameplay is going to be inspired by, think of like the Batman Arkham series with its open world and the side missions that you'll be doing, the tasks you'll be doing, and partaking in stealth and combat, which will be inspired by the likes of Devil May Cry, God of War, the Batman Arkham series with its free flow. And we'll also be getting some third-person shooter elements, and we'll be able to use various weapons that we pick up from fallen enemies or from shops and whatnot. And basically the game is a capsulation of a lot of the stuff I grew up with, think stuff like Transformers, think stuff like DC Comics, think stuff like Cyberpunk and stuff like that, Star Wars and whatnot.
Yeah, this is a really cool looking game. I've been following you for a little while, and I've seen like some of the updates you've been doing, and I mean, obviously we've kind of been in contact a little more now since we did that first show. But yeah, I'm really excited to see this game when it comes out. Obviously, you had that demo, and I saw some gameplay, and it's really cool to see how in depth even just the little demo is. And you have multiple levels and a boss.
Yeah.
And how long have you been working on this again?
I've been working on it since I was really young, because I had the idea when I was 13. I drew out the first character design for the assassin character, and over time just kind of kept redrawing it, and just becoming what he is now. And same with the 3D modeling skills, just remodeling, honing my skills and whatnot. And so that demo, that I made that, I got started on it when I was 16, but I finished it when I was 18. So it took 2 years, and I'm 21 now. So I would say this game has been in the works for around 8-ish years, I think, if I'm doing the math correctly. And yeah, just lately I've been on a harder grind, because because I really want this game to be out, and I really want people to, get excited for it and whatnot. And I'm really excited to see what how things are going to work out with what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, and I feel like with that demo, if you basically did like an updated demo, I mean, you already have a proof of concept. Really, you probably don't even need to make a new demo. You could probably do some sort of Kickstarter or some sort of GoFundMe or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be a really good idea because I need to have the funds to do other stuff with it too. Like I want to make sure it gets sponsored. I want to get sound designers. I want to get voice actors, and I want people to help I want people to help help sponsor it and help advertise and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And as for the concept, literally all I can do is just take what I already had and just make it better, basically. Just show what I can do now, and show what I can show what that demo could have been, and just show like this is what the game is really like supposed to be.
yeah. You already have gameplay. You have a really good looking main character, and you have a pretty solid concept. I mean, you just focus on putting together like that little package or something, and I feel like you could really take off with this idea.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, for sure.
All right, so now we're going to go into Matt's project with Sparrowsoft. And
Hey.
what do you want people to know about this little project?
So it originally started as a concept about a person going kind of discovering themselves and kind of going through the levels and kind of that were originally going to be white, and you were going to fill their levels with color. Scrap that idea because I didn't like it. And now the game is about a journey of going through the stages of grief. So I did carry the concept of colors into the game, but each stage is a different color coordinated to the stage of grief. And it's basically a 2D platformer game. Everything is hand-drawn, hand-animated in Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop, and then put into Unity. With courtesy of the Corgi engine. And basically, it's a game that takes heavy inspiration from the games like Gris, Limbo, Journey, games like that, because I really wanted to have not so much a heavy narrative and more of an ambiguous one, so that the player could kind of interpret it in their own way and kind of go on this cinematic journey themselves and kind of interpret it in the way they want to, that could resonate with them. And I've been working on the game, I would say, probably about 9 months, maybe going on 10 months. And I just launched it into an exhibition, got great feedback from that. And yeah, I'm starting to work on the next levels right now.
Yeah, it's awesome, dude.
Yeah, I really like the way this game looks. And I don't know if you caught the name of the stream today is Year of the Cyber Rabbit. Because it is actually the Year of the Rabbit, and people might not be familiar, obviously, with your game. You said it's based off of your real life rabbit.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, I totally forgot to mention that. Yep. So the idea is that I lost my rabbit about a year ago during the pandemic, and since they didn't allow people to really go inside the vet during this lockdown, I never really got to say a proper goodbye. So I thought kind of creating this game was a way of kind of having my goodbye, in my own terms, and kind of going through those stages of grief to kind of come to acceptance.
Yeah, so the last time I talked to you about this game, you were going to be showing it off at like a exhibit of some kind.
Yep. Yeah. I just had that. It was a exhibition at the University of Connecticut, and there was a bunch of with other artists. There was about four other games there, but yeah, and everybody there was super talented, and we all got great feedback on our games. I had to hover over my game because there was a bug that I noticed that did not allow people to restart. They got stuck on the credits, so I had to play. I had to play IT guy for the entire exhibition.
Oh man. So, um, so before I move on, Mike, was there anything you wanted to say about these projects?
Yeah, I had a question for Cyber. You said you started this project pretty young. Did that impact your social life? Like, did you do sports and stuff, or were you just doing game dev?
No, because I was mostly an art kid. Honestly, like I was mostly into art and games and nerd stuff and technology and stuff like that. So and no, it didn't like do anything with my social life. I was still I still hung out and stuff like that when I was younger. But yeah, it didn't really affect anything like on my social life, to be honest.
Okay.
Okay.
And,
Yeah.
Was there something else, Mike?
no, that's good. That's good for me.
Okay.
Okay. So my starting question is, when you were in the stages of coming up with your original idea, how did you choose the engine that you ended up using for both of you guys?
For me, because I knew I wanted something that would be considered I've always wanted something that would be considered AAA worthy, of course, and I wanted something that um looked, I don't want to say realistic, but had beautiful graphics and stuff like that. So I always figured that Unreal would be the way to go, because I knew Unreal 4 was was becoming a big thing when I was younger, and Unreal was free to access, like at least Unreal 4. So it was nice being able to use that, and so yeah, that's how that came about.
Yeah, so for me, I did a little bit of research before creating my game, and since I knew I wanted from the beginning to be a kind of like a 2D storytelling game, I originally looked into Unreal 5, and I realized that is not the route to go, because Unreal is not meant and not built for 2D platformers. You can do it, but it's just a pain in the ass. So I went the Unity route, because Unity has so much more robust features for 2D games. Especially if you have plugins like the Corgi engine, you can get a 2D platformer game up and running in the prototype stage within a week. So it was a pretty easy choice once I figured that out. And from obviously prior experiences as well.
And did you do any kind of like storyboarding for Alta's Odyssey?
A little bit. So I originally made like a really crappy rushed storyboard idea, and I kind of scrapped it because it just felt very forced. And since I wanted to kind of keep the story ambiguous, and since I really wanted it to revolve around the stages of grief, I really felt like I didn't need to create a robust storyboard because the stages of grief happen differently for everybody. So I couldn't really make it happen a specific way and have other people resonate with it, because other people could be like, well, I had a different experience, and then they get that immediate disconnect. So I wanted to kind of keep it in a way where you could reshuffle the stages of grief um, in different ways, so that people could uh, kind of be affected by it or be connect to it. And so again, I guess to kind of round back to your question, not really. It was a pretty simple, straightforward idea that didn't require a huge amount of time storyboarding, because there wasn't a lot of heavy exposition and story dialogue to kind of have to work through.
Yeah, one thing I've been doing with Unity lately is I'll make these outlines for like level design, and then I'll basically just build on top of the outline.
Mhm.
So that's why I was curious if um, maybe you had some sort of storyboard, which maybe doesn't make sense with how you're laying things out.
Mhm.
But with the project I'm working on right now, it's like gonna cut in between like 2D animation like cutscenes in real time,
Mhm.
in the middle of gameplay, basically, and I want it to be like kind of seamless.
Mhm.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
it really, I guess, depends on how you create your game and what your game is going to be about, right? So if your game is pretty cinematic in a way, and kind of does a lot of environmental storytelling, there isn't a huge amount of storyboarding you need. It's mostly just art direction that you need. But if it's a different game that has a lot of story and a very strict narrative, then storyboarding is a very good idea, because then you can kind of look at your story as a whole, see, okay, this part doesn't work, this part needs to be rewritten, this part doesn't really feel like it has a good enough flow to it, or it doesn't support the gameplay. So you know, it's really got to pick and choose which and your project, if storyboarding will work for you, and even if you need to do it at all, because if some people like myself, I just knew what I wanted to do right away and how to execute it, and so I feel like I didn't need to really waste my time on storyboarding and just got right into the prototype phase. So it's really just it's up to the individual.
So was it were you processing the stages of grief as you were working on the game, or did you start the game later?
I would say later. Yeah. So I got a pretty much a whole year to kind of work through it. And now I would say this game has offered me the opportunity to kind of analyze what I went through, how it affected me, and how others have gone through it. So it's almost like a self-reflection kind of game, and kind of inward looking uh, style narrative.
so would you say that the game itself is kind of like a form of acceptance?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you would absolutely say that.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
All right. So my next question is really focused on people who are just getting started in the game. They just open up an engine for the first time.
Mhm.
How did you guys handle character movement? Did you start with like a kit? Did you find your own way of like getting your character model set up?
For me, I mean, I usually just looked at what was already given. You know, like I saw how the third person character was set up, and I watched tutorials on how, how to replace them and stuff like that, and how to set up animation uh my own animation set and stuff like that. So um that's pretty much that, and I was able to figure out how to get sprinting and stuff like that, and double jump, but that's pretty much it on that.
So, so with Unreal, are you doing blueprints or C++ or a combination of both?
um I I want to stick with Blueprint because, at least for me personally, Blueprint is a little bit more easier to manage. It's probably just me, but I've heard that C++ is a bit more efficient. But but that's um that's something that I'm gonna have to figure out for figure out soon or figure out like later down the road because I'm unfamiliar with C++, but I would say like me like probably Blueprint.
Yeah, if you're already using blueprints and you're already like making progress, I'd say just stick to that for now.
Yeah, for sure.
C++ is a big topic. Especially,
Yeah,
especially like there's C++, and then there's like the newer C++. The libraries change, and then there's C++ with Unreal, which is like that's specific to Unreal. So,
oh yeah,
not to
yeah,
discourage anyone. If you want to learn it, whatever it is, I'd say
yeah,
whoever's listening, go learn it. But if you're
yeah,
already
for sure.
functional with blueprints, it's just that you might hit bottlenecks in performance, and you might have less objects running around or something. But
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it seems like with Unity, just to get like a character moving is like very simple, but it always feels like it can go janky very fast.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So Unity has a pretty straightforward animator. You basically just need to drop in your frame animations if that's what you're going to do. Say specifically a 2D platformer, and you basically just need to import them as a single sprite, get to them to the correct resolution, and if you import them as a sprite sheet, cut them out in the same size so you don't get janky, crazy all over the place sprites. And basically you just drop them in and choose what frame rate you want to run them at. And it's basically off and running. And the only thing you really need to do is create a character controller, which you can look up on YouTube and basically do it in 15 minutes. Or even faster, which a lot of people do, is you basically just go get a script, a pre-made script of the character movement, tweak it a little bit to your liking, add some other code, and you can get some great animation. Like I used Corgi Engine specifically. They already had a really crazy in-depth character movement system, and it also controlled the camera as well. So you kind of got this really nice kind of the shaky cam or like smooth cam motion when you jump, so it kind of camera lens kind of lag behind a little bit to kind of make it a little bit more cinematic. But you can the great thing about Unity is you can add on to these scripts and not break the engine like you can with Unreal. Unreal, you add one line of code wrong, the whole engine breaks. But in Unity, for example, I had this pre-made walking or horizontal movement script, and I was like, it doesn't have a line of code for running audio per footstep, and so I coded a really simple, quick line of code, C# of just that, if moving at this speed, play this track at this time. If stop, else do this and stuff like that. And you set your character speed and drop an audio file in, and bam, you got your walk cycle, and you got your audio playing on each step too. So it's really kind of in depth and how far you want to go down the rabbit hole, but it's also very forgiving too, in a lot of ways, so that if you screw something up, it's easily just to press Control Z and get back to where you were, and not be punished for it like in some other engines.
Yeah, I want to touch on the sprite sheets real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So for people who don't know what a sprite sheet is, it's basically if you're doing like frame animations, it would include different frames of the character's movement spread out on a sheet, which then you can cut up and use in the engine instead of individually uploading each image as its own. But with your game, did you use Unity's like Photoshop importer, or did you just create a custom sprite sheet?
So basically, I created a custom sprite sheet, imported it as a PNG, and then sliced it all up, and basically used those little individual sprites from there. And sometimes I had to import some frames individually because some frames in my original sprite sheet didn't look good, so I had to like redo those frames and re-import them. And the great thing about that is that you can basically just like click and then click the first sprite on the sheet, click the last one. After you go shit, that highlights all of them, you click and drag into the scene and it automatically makes your animation. Like that is so great, and not a lot of game engines do that, and it's just so convenient. But when you do your sprite sheet, an important thing to kind of factor in is make sure none of your sprites are touching. Compact them as closely as possible, but to make sure they're not touching, and make sure they're all at the same resolution and size, so that when you go into Animator or the sprite sheet editor in Unity, you can easily just quickly cut and put a grid down, and it will cut them in perfect sections for you.
Yeah. So I've noticed with the Photoshop importer, I've had some issues with like certain images in the sprite sheet will be like blurry, especially if you rescale them at all. And I've been trying to figure out how to fix that, but it sounds like I might have to just do a custom sprite sheet.
It also depends too. I ran into an issue where I was importing a lot of sprites and they came in super small, and then when I scaled them up, they got super pixelated and blurry. So what I found you need to do was one, you need to export in the correct resolution. Make sure it's within the actual boundaries of your artboard within the, say, Illustrator or Photoshop, and not bigger than it, because even though it'll export it and then you look at it on your desktop and go, oh, this is fine, it's bigger than your artboard, so it's going to be at a crazy big resolution. It's going to be at resolution, say it's at 150 dpi or 72 dpi, spread over that artboard. If it's bigger than the artboard, now you have that low dpi spread farther out from your artboard, so it's making your sprite a lot more resolution. And two, if you do that and it still comes in blurry, another thing I found out is that there's a limit that Unity poses on imported assets. So when you import the asset, one, turn off the, I think it's compression. It's on binary. Turn it to point to point, which would basically get rid of any compression on your assets. And two, up the resolution to the highest, or to the match your sprite's resolution or the highest possible resolution, and it will clear up and it won't look so blurry.
Okay. Yeah. That's good advice. There was another thing I wanted to touch on. Did you want to? I know we've talked about it before, but as far as for this stream, how in this recording I have of your game, how the character, when going up an angle, he matches the angle. You want to just touch briefly on how you were able to do that?
Yeah, so that's another great thing that is with the Corgi engine. So I'm not a programmer by trade, so I don't know a lot of programming. I only know a few things. I'm mostly a game artist. So the reason I use the Corgi engine plugin to Unity is it has a lot of pre-scripted stuff that you can really customize to your liking and add stuff to it to make it more and more fit your style of game or your type of look. And so basically, I had this idea. It's where my character was going up a slope, and he was just kind of still staying at the same horizontal angle. So I found a script that did that, and then I added some custom scripting inside that script to get it to match the pitch of the angle, but at a certain speed too. So originally, if you went up an angle, my character would turn and to match the angle, but it would be kind of slow motion. So I had to kind of do a little custom scripting in there, customization to get it to turn at a certain speed, and then reset once you jump off that angle.
And you said this this add-on is called Corby?
Yep, it's basically in the asset store. You can find it. I think right now it costs like $80. I got it, I think, at the time for free, or
How do you
maybe
spell
like for.
that?
It's basically like the dog, so CORGI and then engine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Corby.
yeah. It's a great little engine for anybody who's is serious about building their own 2D platform, and they want to make something super high quality, or they're just starting out. It's really, really great, and for everybody on the spectrum.
Okay. Yeah, and I want to get into some of the animation stuff for Unreal, but real quick, I want to show an example of what I'm talking about for the stream of some of the. This is a little 2D game I'm working on, and see how this front rock here has like this weird blurriness. This has to do with that compression that Matt was talking about, whereas everything else seems to be crisp and clean. So, yeah, let me change that back. So with Cyberwave, when it comes to linking your animations and your character movement, Unreal has a completely different system from Unity, where you basically have to set up like your animator controller and it basically has its own sort of version of visual scripting within the animation controller itself. Do you want to talk about how you learned to figure that out and certain difficulties, or I'm not framing this as a very good question, but
Yeah, I'm all confused.
Oh, no, I see what you mean. I know what you're talking about, but basically, well, obviously, I make my animations first, but basically, how I work my way around it is I basically just follow with what like the third person template it has. Sometimes I'll switch up a bit depending on what exactly it is I'm going for, but it's pretty much the same thing. But the one thing that is a little bit of a struggle, at least for me, is
okay, one
look.
second. I'm sorry to interrupt. I guess Matt needs to go, but before you go, is there anything you want to say?
Oh, I mean, I would say, just good luck with your game, and your game looks great.
Oh, thank
And
you. Yeah, I'm so sorry. So sorry I have to
no, it's
go.
okay. It's all good. It's all good, man.
But I appreciate it. Everybody who's listening, good luck, and I hope you do your due diligence and create great things. And I appreciate you guys inviting me back. I would love to come back on the show sometime and talk more about this.
Awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, thank you
Awesome.
for coming back on. Sorry, the last episode got a little mixed up. People can follow you at Sparrowsoft on Twitter and Instagram, right?
Yep, Sparrowsoft Stew on Twitter and Sparrowsoft Studio at Instagram. Yep.
Awesome. Was there anything you wanted to say, Mike, before Matt took off?
No, that's all. I was just looking for a plug.
Oh, awesome.
Your game looks awesome. Looking forward to it. I'll keep up
Thank
with
you.
it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it looks great, man.
I appreciate it. All right, guys.
Yeah, Alta's Odyssey by Sparrowsoft. Thank you for coming back on.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
But
All right. Yeah, back to your animation stuff. Sorry.
it's okay. But anyway, so like honestly, like the biggest struggle for me, at least, is I don't want to say it's making it look smooth because what I want to do is I want to do it to where like let's say you're running, right? And you stop running, like it'll play another animation, right? Where like it shows the character stopping, his arms moving and whatnot. That's gonna be a bit of a that's the part where that's gonna be a little bit of a struggle to figure out because I'm not used to that sort of thing, but at most, I can figure out things just fine. I can figure out the blend modes, getting the idle to the run and whatnot. At least, that's the base. I could figure out how to get I could figure out anim montages, the attack animations, and getting the player into a certain like animation state. Like, okay, here's the pistol animations, here's sword animations, and so on. I can figure all that out. It's just like, just highly advanced stuff. That's the part where it's gonna be this is gonna be fun to figure out.
Yeah. As far as someone who is listening who might just be getting into Unreal, where do you actually make the animations? Like, do you start in Blender and then import
Yes.
it, or?
Yes, I make all of my animations in Blender, like, individually. Sometimes I'll put in sequence, like, what you're seeing on display here. But, I make the animation separately and then I import it all into Unreal.
Awesome. And how do, let's say you're in Unreal and you have your animations in there. How does it show up? Is each animation its own file?
Yes, it's its own thing. It's its own file, yeah.
Okay.
Well, like you can export all the animations in one like file outside of Unreal, but once you import that into Unreal, that's when it expands and shows all the individual animations you've done.
Nice. And do you create all your 3D models in Blender as well?
Yes, I create all my models and I texture them all in Substance Painter, and I come up with all the character designs and stuff like that. And even with the levels, like with the exception of the old demo, which I used Unreal assets, but this time around, I'm really wanting to start making my own assets.
Nice. And do you use like the old version of Substance, or do you use the current version?
I can't remember what version I'm using, but I think it's one of the recent versions. I'm not too sure.
Is it the Adobe version?
No.
Oh, okay. Because Adobe bought Substance, and I've been meaning to try their version of it.
Yeah, I've been meaning to get my hands on that for a bit, like especially since I have the Creative Cloud, but I just haven't been able to get around to it. Just yeah.
How do you approach testing your game? Like, do you have like people who test for you, or do you just kind of go off of your own intuition?
I usually, I usually go about it myself. Or if I need somebody, I can always just have I can always have a select group of people like game test it.
Yeah. So with my last podcast / stream with Coral Wave, one of the things we talked about was getting like your core team of people together. And this is something we sort of addressed with you with our trial version of this episode that's lost to the ancients. But what's really impressive about your project is that you've just been hammering on it on your own for so long, and you actually have some cool stuff to show for it. It's like,
yes.
Basically, when you make a game by yourself, you wear many hats and you have so much more work to do.
Yeah.
And you're kind of talking about maybe you plan on getting people to help you out in the future.
Yeah.
So
Potentially. My apologies.
If you were like recruiting, basically, like how would you go about that? Not to say that you are, by the way.
Oh no, but if I was, honestly, just I'm not sure about that, honestly. Like, I haven't thought about that too much.
Yeah, that's okay. I was just curious if you had thought about it or not.
Yeah.
As far as launching your game, have you looked into like creating a Steam page or reaching out to publishers or anything like that?
Yes, I do want the game on Steam. I'm still thinking about what I want to do with a publisher, but Steam .itch, stuff like that. That's where my that's where my main go-tos are going to be.
Itch.io.
Yeah, itch.io. Yeah, God, it's been a bit since I used that site.
So yeah, I just wanted to clarify for the stream.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I mean, is there any other games that you've like worked on? You know how people talk about making small games first. Has there been any, like, since you've been working on this game, has there been any side projects that you just played around with or put out there anywhere?
No. I've done I've been working on a few side stuff like when I was younger, but like those will probably never see the light of day. But mostly just for practice, mostly just for making sure that my skills are nice and honed and stuff like that. And I think that's pretty much it for that.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of, I kind of have this problem where my side stuff is very droppable. Like, I'll start working on it and I'll be like, oh yeah, I'll just do like this little thing real quick, and then I'll be like, I kind of forgot about that thing.
Oh yeah, like how many files I've had from my old computer that have just been filled with like FL files, Photoshop files, blend files, whatever. Probably like a few Unreal projects that will probably never be seen. I get it.
Yeah, definitely. I probably have, I have so much storage taken up right now that I could probably honestly delete and then never even remember what it was. I recently dug up some like cloud files from my Unity, and I saw these old games I had worked on, and I was like, oh sweet, and I went to open them up and they were just like empty. There was nothing in there. I thought maybe it would have been cool to like share some of my like old projects, but I don't really understand why they disappeared.
Which ones are missing? I might have something.
Well, some of it was like stuff that I meant to like set up with you, but I guess I didn't. Like some of those mini games that we were working on, like there was the boat one. I don't know why that doesn't work. And then there was this one where it was like apocalyptic mail lettering, or like delivering letters that I made for like a class.
Oh yeah.
And like some of the art assets were still there, but like the game didn't run.
Yeah.
And I'm not really sure why. But it was basically like a brick breaker, but disguised to not be a brick breaker kind of game.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have an old Flash game that definitely doesn't run anymore, but
that's
right. Make new stuff.
But yeah, I mean, so as far as the Cyber Citi game goes, are you planning like multiple games, or are you just kind of focusing on what you have now and then you'll see where it takes you?
I want to do multiple sequels, and I want to do I know I want a comic book tie-in. I might want to do a film tie-in, but I'm not sure. It all just depends on where it takes. So it's that's pretty much just sequel, comic, and film. But that's basically like it just depends where everything goes, like where it all takes.
Yeah. So ideally you would want like it to basically spawn like a franchise, but would you ever be willing to like work for a game company, or like let's say you release Cyber Citi and it's a complete game but it doesn't necessarily take off the way you want it to? Would you be looking into like joining like a game company and like using that as your resume basically?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah. I would love to work at a game company. Like it would actually be really awesome. Actually, it'd be perfect.
Yeah. Well, with this game, you're kind of like every role. Is there like a specific role that you would want to get into?
Anything specific? I would say honestly, either animation or the 3D modeling department.
Cool. Yeah. How do you? I haven't looked at like your raw 3D files or whatever. How do you approach like optimization? I know with the newest version of Unreal, it's a little easier to optimize because of nanite and such. But as far as your workflow, how have you worked with like optimizing your models and learning like the balance of keeping your normals right with your mesh and everything?
Yeah, just the standard just baking textures and creating a low poly to where like it still has the the right shape and has the right look, but still enough to where you can see all the intended detail in the normals and whatnot. And I know for Unreal 5, at least from what I've heard, nanites don't work too much with skeletal meshes. Like I know there's a trick for that. You know, you can use static meshes on top of skeletal meshes, but it might just because of me, like with my laptop, but when I did try that, it said that that Unreal was getting exhausted, so I'm not gonna do that. It might just be because of my laptop, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah, I actually didn't know that. I haven't looked into like trying to use nanite with skeletal meshes. I just assumed it worked, but I guess that's good to know.
Oh yeah, nanites don't work with skeletal mesh.
Nice.
Yeah.
Just trying to find something I wrote down, but I can't seem to find it.
Uh-oh.
Oh well. So when does Cyber Citi come out?
Hopefully in hopefully in hopefully in the next year or two, because I know I want to, because a lot of my old assets are they've been obliterated to on the old computer, but just working on new assets, and I think it'll be a much quicker process because I know how everything works, but hopefully within the next year or so, then we can get something.
Yeah. So that boss character that you made for your other demo, is that gonna still be a character in the current version of the game?
I'm not sure because on one hand I do want to bring it back because I do have the redesign for him and I have it drawn out and such, but at the same time, I'm going in a more different direction now. I'm going in something that's a bit, I don't want to say focused, but something a bit more, straightforward with its direction, if that makes sense. Something a bit more, cyberpunky inspired, something a bit more, I don't want to say grounded, but something a little less cartoony, if that makes sense, because because the Gundam and Transformer stuff is usually in that department.
Yeah, I would say some of the designs that you had in the demo were a little more over the top,
Yeah,
sort of transforming and inspired looking.
yeah, like that was young me, but yeah, like just yeah. So I'm not sure if I do want to keep him. I might come up with something else, but like the gist of it is just I don't know if like I'm bringing him back because because of the new direction and more focused, you know, the more focused tone that we're going for, and the more serious tone we're going for.
Yeah, and
Or
that demo that you made, that was Unreal 4, right?
yes,
Are you still in Unreal 4 or are you in Unreal 5 now?
I'm moving on to Unreal 5.
Okay, and did you just port the whole thing over or did you start a new project?
Start a new project.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I also want to experiment with I don't know if Unreal 5 has this, but I think it's Niagara, which is that plugin for like those special effects. I haven't messed with those yet, but I really want to give those a try.
I think it's built in Unreal 5.
Oh, really?
I believe so. I might be wrong, but
Wait, let me look it up. Unreal 5.
Nigeria.
Oh, okay. I could. Nigeria, that's what it's called. Oh my god.
No, it's
Yeah,
called
Nigeria. Niagara. Whatever. But yeah, definitely okay, yeah. I guess it's in there. Yeah, then yeah, for sure. Definitely.
Have you heard of Cascadewer? I think that's what it's called. Cascadewer.
I don't think so. What's it called?
Cascadewer. So it's spelled like Cascadeur. So
Okay.
you might benefit from this. It's like an animation tool, which kind of I don't know if it's necessarily AI, but it's like you create the keyframes and it does a really good job of filling in the gaps.
All right.
I recently found out about it and I've been looking into it. But it looks really cool and it seems like it ports really well into Unreal as well.
No, okay, for sure. Yeah, I'm taking a look at some of the stuff right now, and yeah, a lot of stuff's really cool. I'm just checking out some of the screenshots.
Yeah. Oh, and you can do IK and FK at the same time for people who aren't familiar. That's inverse kinematics and full kinematics, which inverse kinematics helps you, like, let's say if your character's like holding on to something in the environment or like their feet need to be placed a certain way, then it helps the rest of the body like fit where those are supposed to go. And then FK kind of helps with like like with your arms, like a character's arms specifically. FK kind of helps the shoulder like fit with the arm when they're just like moving around, I guess.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's gonna be.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to like, a lot of people like either have to choose IK or FK for animation, but Cascader or Cascadeur, however you say it, you can do both at the same time.
Perfect. Yeah, I use a IK rig, but like a full IK rig, but yeah, this could be really useful. Like, yeah, if we can use both at the same time, like, wow. And like, is it to where like say for instance you put the character's hand on the wall or something, could you set up to where once it touches the wall you could have it to where it locks on there, or do you have to do some other like weird like magic behind it?
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to set that up in engine, but with Cascadeur or whatever, I think it helps you set up. I think you can set up your skeletal mesh to include IK. So then once you're in engine, you can, you know, I'm not the coder, so
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how you do that, but it's possible.
All right, for sure. Yeah.
I haven't hooked that thing up to code yet, so I have to play with it.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, that actually seems really useful. Like, wow.
So while
Yeah,
we're
I
on
could
tools,
definitely.
are there any
Okay.
marketplace tools or other tools that we haven't talked about that are like your go-to, or that like solve any specific issues or weaknesses in the engine?
Oh, no, I don't think so. No.
Um, do you keep an eye on like some of the free stuff that comes out every month in case there is anything that you would like to use?
Not. No, I don't. I don't really keep track of them. I'm usually one to just do most of it myself.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people in the game dev or just starting out game dev community, and even me, it's like you have this idea that there's going to be like some magic asset that you can just buy and make a game that day.
And it never works out.
It never works out. But
Yeah.
I think there's still, I mean, and there's stuff that me and Mike have looked at that we kind of want to play around with. I feel like, especially getting to know like the engines, assets, or like, there are certain like pre-built things out there that can help you just get familiar with the engine and even like this 2D project that I just showed that I'm working on. It uses the 2D kit that Thomas Brush, who's he's a known game dev on YouTube. He made this like free pack, and we used it to start off, but it's like now it's unrecognizable. Like the main thing that we still use is like the enemies kind of follow the same basic logic, but Mike has added the ability to they use melee when you come up close to them, and then when you walk away, they or you get too far away, they switch to ranged weapons. So I feel like,
Yeah.
there are some assets that can help you get familiar with things, but there's not really an asset thing out there that you could just put it in the engine and then you have a full game that you can just sell.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and sometimes depending on the tools, I'll use an example like from coding, like in Java. Well, and I haven't used it for a while, but there used to be a weakness of like the dates were always just notoriously bad. So the best practice would just be to use a third party tool. So it's just I've been kind of looking for what are the go-tos that the pros use on some of the indie some of the game engines.
Well, I think on the stream I just showed some.
Yeah, you're showing your screen.
Yeah, I think I just showed a secret Discord server
Oh my.
because I saw I had a message in Discord and I forgot I was sharing Discord and I went over.
Uh-oh.
It wasn't anything like bad or anything.
You can probably
No secrets.
cut the
It was
video
actually
from
someone like posted a joke in the Battle Ball server.
Yeah.
Well, now that you mentioned it, everyone's going to go check it out.
We'll have to check it out now.
No, now that you mentioned it, like now everyone's going to go look.
Yeah. It's
Oh god.
footage, but it's just a joke. It's in the game Burnout Paradise, the devs have like a car that's just a ball, and it's to like test like the reflections and stuff.
The amount of jokes made off of that alone.
Yeah, the jokes are nonstop in the Battle Ball server.
I could make some right now, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, that's probably best for now. So I mean, I'm out of questions, but is there anything else you guys want to get into?
I had one question. Have you thought about like a minimal viable product as far as like you've got this huge project? Have you looked at it like, okay, what would it take to put out like a demo? Like cutting it down to like the minimum, or like watching a lot of
What's the small version of the project? kind of.
Yeah, well, like in watching a lot of retrospectives from other games, I guess a lot of a lot of times there's just huge chunks of the game that get just ripped out of it because you just you never have time to like actually put everything into it. But yeah, I was just wondering if you had thought about minimal viable product and like what systems would you be willing to cut or like
You're asking like
just
you're
have you
asking all of us, or?
Yeah, anyone, say, what do you think about minimal viable product versus like the dream, the dream game versus like what we're going to ship next week, that type of deal, or what we're going to ship next quarter. What are the, specific to Cyber Citi, you talked about some stuff you want to add to it, but that's a pretty big, some of that stuff sounds like big systems. So if you thought about like, what a smaller product might look like, or what a smaller version of the dream game might look
like. If I were to say that, honestly, if I were to say that, it would probably just look like something. It would probably just look like something from that original demo, just a bit. Just a little bit of I guess a lesser version of what it is, but like right now, I'm going like full in right now. Like, I hope that answers your question.
I think so. I don't know.
Oh,
yeah.
I feel like I could answer that for you. Like maybe a smaller version would be like predetermined like levels. Like in the demo, you have it set up where you have different regions, and maybe the smaller version of your game would just be like more tailored missions that go with the story, I guess.
Like, you mean stuff like something a bit more linear? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that would probably be like the version of the game that Mike's kind of referencing.
Ah, got it. Okay. Yeah.
And maybe it doesn't make sense for your game, but some of the stuff I've dreamed up, I know that there's no way I'm going to be able to just put it all in one game. So I'm kind of breaking it into little pieces, and I'm kind of looking at it like, let's make multiple small games, and then those will be stepping stones or systems that we could put in a larger game. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like let's say we're trying to make a Halo game. So the different pieces of that could be a vehicle game, a shooter game, and maybe like you just focus down on like one aspect of gameplay and make those into different games before you get to the big game. So those would be the smallest viable product of that, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've done just over an hour. We don't have any questions today, unfortunately, but that's okay. Anything else you guys want to touch on before we wrap up?
No, not me at least.
Is there another indie project out there you want to shout out?
Not me at least.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really have much to say right now, so
That's okay.
You want to do an outro plug for all of us, or?
Yeah.
Sorry, we're kind of figuring out our format still, but
yeah, we're still figuring out.
Get there.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Keep going. People don't believe what you're doing. They think that it's too big or dreaming or whatever. Just keep grinding, keep doing what you do, and then they'll see once you do it.
Yeah. Well said. And for anyone watching, this is Sperdunky and Friends, the indie game dev live show. We do it live on Twitch. And then if you're watching this on YouTube, you're watching an edited version. And if you're listening to the audio, you're listening to the same version, but just the audio. Is there any last tips you want to give out there?
If you want to be a game dev, have fun and game on, I guess.
Just do it. Nothing's impossible.
Yeah, just say it like Shia LaBeouf. Just do it.
But
That sounds
today's
good.
guests, we had Matt, who had to take off Sparrowsoft. We had Isaac, who's known as Cyberwave with his game Cyber Citi. And my co-host today is Mike, Cybernetic Druid. I'm Sperdunky. This is Sperdunky Friends. Take it easy.